So today we will be talking about cholinergic drugs. Specifically, the other day I told you what is acetylcholine, what are its functions, and I went over how it is being metabolized and what are the receptors of your acetylcholine, specific functions of muscarinic and nicotinic receptors. I hope you are recording. Yeah. So today we'll be going over some of the drug classes that will be either used for or against acetylcholine. You'll see both of those scenarios where which will be applied. So first of all, coming to cholinomimetic drugs or cholinergic drugs. Cholinergic drugs will be those drugs which will increase the level of acetylcholine in your body, either directly or indirectly. You'll understand how. Now, the first drug class that will come under cholinergic drugs will be something called cholinomimetic drugs. Cholinomimetic drugs or cholinomimetic alkaloids, either way. Okay. Cholinomimetic alkaloids will basically include your pilocarpine. Yeah, it will include mainly your pilocarpine. There are other ones as well, but this is the most significant one. The thing is that this will act directly like uh, acetylcholine, so it'll very closely resemble the effect of acetylcholine, but the disadvantage is that it is not selective as such. Now, whenever you are giving pilocarpine, you will have effects of acetylcholine all over your body. Let's suppose there was a problem in which you are only trying to cause meiosis. For example, someone is suffering from mydriasis or some condition which is causing mydriasis, and you are giving specifically to cause meiosis or to bring it back to normal. This will not be selective in its approach, in the sense that it will not just cause effect on the eye, it will cause effect all over the body, because it is not a selective kind of drug. Okay, cholinomimetic drugs will be unselective, and it will non-selective basically, and it will affect the whole body. As such, what will happen is, let's suppose if it is on your eye, it will cause meiosis, it will cause decrease in intraocular pressure. Other than that, it can also increase sweating. So sweating and salivation, both of them will increase. One thing about pilocarpine is that it will stimulate your muscarinic receptors more than your nicotinic receptors. Stimulates muscarinic receptors more than nicotinic receptors. So the effects of muscarinic receptors will be more exaggerated. Okay, we already went over the effects, what are muscarinic effects and what are nicotinic effects. The effects that you will see with pilocarpine will be those of muscarinic origin. Okay, sometimes this fellow can cause hypertension. So maybe caused. Okay, one adverse effect is that on long term usage, if someone is using pilocarpine for a long time period of time, retinal detachment might occur where the retina is detaching. uh, the, the main use of pilocarpine will be in glaucoma. Glaucoma is a specific condition in which what do you call, the intraocular pressure in the person's eye will increase beyond normal, and they'll have pain and they'll have several other problems, but they'll not be able to see properly. Glaucoma is such a condition where IOP increases way beyond normal. So pilocarpine was very helpful in that sense, where it is decreasing your intraocular pressure and it will cause meiosis. Other than that, it can also be used to counter dryness of mouth that is seen following radiation of head and neck. So someone who is undergoing chemotherapy, especially chemo of the head and neck cancer, in those conditions, what will happen is, because of chemo, their mouth will dry. That can cause, cracking and all of that. But to avoid that, you can give pilocarpine, which will cause wetness of the mouth in a way. It will increase the secretions of your saliva. That is why salivary secretions, whenever a drug increases salivary secretions, those drugs are called sialogogues. Okay, this fellow can also increase sweating. That is about cholinomimetic drugs. We have another class which is anticholinesterases. Okay, when I was telling you about acetylcholine, I told you about one very specific enzyme that is present in your synaptic cleft or present in your synapse that can break acetylcholine into acetic acid. One second. Can break it into acetic acid and choline, right? That drug will be cholinesterase. Okay. Now, this enzyme cholinesterase can be inhibited using anticholinesterases. Okay, whenever you inhibit this enzyme, acetylcholine levels will go up. So to put it in another way, let's suppose I have, second, people are trying to join in. Yeah, let's suppose I have a substrate and a product relationship. अब आपका ये neuron है. Let's suppose acetylcholine is coming out of here, and this is the other end, postsynaptic neuron. This acetylcholine is coming and attaching to this receptor here, okay, and performing some action where it is transmitting your nerve impulse. Okay. Once it is done, this fellow will come back into your synaptic terminal or synaptic cleft, and it will break down into acetic acid and choline by the enzyme cholinesterase. Okay, I'll just abbreviate it as CH. Now, CHE, cholinesterase. Okay. This cholinesterase will essentially decrease the amount of acetylcholine. So if I have a substrate which is acetylcholine, and I am performing a enzymatic reaction where this acetylcholine is, yeah, where this acetylcholine is being converted into acetic acid and choline. Okay, using the enzyme. For now, that enzyme, will name it as E. That enzyme is cholinesterase. Okay, so if I decrease the level of this enzyme, substrate level increases. No, here I'm trying to use it as a I'm trying to use anticholinesterases as drugs where I want acetylcholine level to increase. So if I want acetylcholine level to increase, I will simply inhibit this enzyme. If I inhibit this enzyme, your substrate level will increase and you will not have any more product being formed. I hope the mechanism of action, you understood the mechanism of action. It is pretty much simple. Acetylcholine is getting degraded in the synaptic cleft. Okay. I have a condition where acetylcholine levels are already low. I want to increase their levels. So what I will do, I will stop the degradation of acetylcholine. This is the indirect way of increasing acetylcholine levels, where you are stopping degradation of acetylcholinesterase. Degradation of acetylcholine by blocking acetylcholinesterase. I hope you understood because we have a little more depth in this. ये समझ में आया what is happening? Or do you want me to repeat any particular part? See, I'm asking because it will get more complex from here. You will not understand what is happening further if you don't understand what is happening here.
Sir, this one only anticholinesterase.
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
सर मतलब ये पूरा एक बार फिर से बता देते ना.
अच्छा, देखो, we have acetylcholine, right, in your presynaptic neuron. This acetylcholine is present in one vesicle. They are present in vesicles. Whenever we have what you call impulse that is coming here and it is coming out into your synapse, this neurotransmitter will be transmitted to the receptor on the postsynaptic neuron, this fellow, okay, and it will relay the message. It will send the message to the postsynaptic neuron. यहाँ पर if you remember in acetylcholine metabolism, I told you this acetylcholine itself can be broken down. It will eventually get broken down in your synaptic cleft itself, wherein the enzyme cholinesterase is the name of that enzyme. Okay, cholinesterase. Okay, cholinesterase is this enzyme. So this fellow can break down acetylcholine into acetic acid and choline. ठीक है, यहाँ तक समझ में आ रहा what is happening? Once acetylcholine has done its job, it will break down into acetic acid and choline. That choline will be able to, let's suppose this is the choline molecule and this is the acetic acid molecule. This choline will go back into your presynaptic neuron and will get absorbed inside, where it is joining with your what do you call, coenzyme, acetyl coenzyme A, and forming new molecule of acetylcholine. This is what is happening normally. ये समझ में आया what is happening till here?
Yes, sir.
Ab, I have a condition or I have a patient whose acetylcholine levels are low. I want to essentially increase their acetylcholine levels. So what I will do is I will inhibit this enzyme. अगर ये enzyme को रोक दिया मैं, तो acetylcholine levels will increase, no? Because I'm essentially stopping the breakdown of acetylcholine. यहाँ पर acetylcholine is getting broken down into choline and acetic acid. I'm simply stopping the enzyme that is causing the breakdown, because of which acetylcholine levels will increase. समझ में आया? I hope you understood.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I hope the others understood as well. Because from here on out, I'll explain what is the difference between reversible and irreversible acetylcholinesterases. You have two different types of anticholinesterases. Okay? The drugs that will stop, or the drugs that will block this particular enzyme cholinesterase, are called anticholinesterases. So, hmm. Now your anticholinesterases can be divided into two types. One is reversible, the other is irreversible. Even though we call them irreversible, you will understand in a bit what is the difference first, and we'll tell you it a little bit more detail. So the examples of your reversible will include physostigmine, neostigmine, stigmine, rivastigmine, donazepam, and you have edrophonium. ठीक है, इतने examples बस है. Also pyridostigmine, but okay, these many are enough. Then in your irreversible, you have two different classes. So the first class will be organophosphates, which are commonly the common type of irreversible ones that are used. Organophosphates. These include your ecothiopate, malathion, sumithion, sarin. You also have some. अच्छा, ये तीन examples बस है. It will get complicated. And you have another class of irreversible anticholinesterases called carbamates. Okay, carbamates में आता है आपको carbamyl, sorry, carbaryl. Carbaryl is also called 7, common name, aldicarb, and propaxia. Okay, so these are two types of irreversible. Yeah, and yeah, I think can I? Okay, I can't change that any. Okay, okay. So you have organophosphates and carbamates as well as reversible type of acetylcholinesterases. What is the difference? Now, if you look at the enzyme acetylcholinesterase itself, it will look something like this. Okay, I'm just drawing for an example. Let's suppose your acetylcholinesterase enzyme looks like this. Okay, that enzyme has two sites. One is an anionic site, this fellow, let's abbreviate it as A, and this is the esteratic site, E. Okay, this will represent your acetylcholinesterase enzyme or cholinesterase enzyme. So cholinesterase, cholinesterase enzyme ki structure, if I simplify the structure and draw it like this, I will get two important sites on that what do you call enzyme. One is the anionic site, the other is the esteratic site. Okay, I hope you are following till here. Now your जो एड्रोफोनियम है, this drug, okay, edrophonium will bind reversibly only to your anionic site. So like example, I have edrophonium which looks like this fellow will come and bind only to the anionic site and it will render that enzyme useless. Okay, imagine that as a competitive inhibitor. Okay, it is a competitive inhibitor of that enzyme. Okay. If you remember last year we discussed about what are competitive inhibitors, what are non-competitive inhibitors, enzymes biochemistry. This is something similar. Edrophonium will come and join with this anionic site reversibly, meaning after a while what will happen is this fellow will unbind within minutes actually. Once you are what do you call, please stop writing. Once you have edrophonium, once you have given edrophonium, within a few minutes you will see the effect of cholinesterase back to normal. Okay? So it will only act for a few minutes and it will bind reversibly to this anionic site. That is about edrophonium. If I take any other reversible kind of anticholinesterase, for example, if I take physostigmine, physostigmine will attach both to your anionic site and to your esteratic site. So let's suppose your physostigmine looks like this. Hmm. Okay. Let's suppose your physostigmine looks like this. So it will bind to both anionic site and esteratic site and it will block both of those sites. See, normally क्या हो रहा है ये cholinesterase को your acetylcholine will come and attach. So if I don't give any drug, Hmm. if I don't give any drug, what is happening is acetylcholine is coming, attaching to this fellow and getting broken down into choline and acetic acid. Here, what I'm trying to do is stop that reaction. So what I will do is I block this enzyme itself by causing by giving an inhibitor of the enzyme. So I do not get any acetic acid and I don't get the breakdown products of your acetylcholine. One way I told you is edrophonium, where you only block the anionic site reversibly for a few minutes. Other reversible anticholinesterase को anticholinergic से confuse मत करो. This fellow will cause an increase in acetylcholine level. ठीक है? Because it is blocking the enzyme that can break down acetylcholine. So if I take physostigmine, it will block both your esteratic site and it will block your anionic site reversibly for a few minutes. Okay. Then you have irreversible binding, specifically by organophosphates. So if I take something like malathion or if I take egothiopate, this fellow will bind only to your esteratic site and it will bind to for a very long time. Even though I call it irreversible, the binding, see, sometimes the binding will be truly irreversible where that enzyme is completely lost. You cannot use that enzyme altogether. Sometimes you will have that binding broken within a few days. Matlab organophosphates effect will stay for a few days or sometimes completely till that enzyme is no more useful. You cannot use that enzyme again on acetylcholinesterase. They will specifically bind only to esteratic site. I think I have an image lying around so that it will be a little bit easier for you to understand. ठीक है, ये देखो. So if I have a reaction between acetylcholine and cholinesterase, ACH represents acetylcholine. Look here, niche, bottom left. Acetylcholine is represented by ACH. CHE is cholinesterase. Neostigmine is a reversible inhibitor. Ecothiopate is a irreversible inhibitor. Okay. So coming back to this fellow, अब ये देखो. Reversible inhibition, the first one, the red dots that you see, red circle and red diamond that you see, that is the effect of acetylcholine itself. Acetylcholine binds to the enzyme, binding to CHE, it will undergo breakdown where you have choline and acetic acid being broken down or it will split apart. Okay? It's a fast reaction. Reversible inhibition of acetylcholinesterase is when, see here, यहाँ पर the key represents neostigmine. Okay, the key represents that drug, reversible drug. That drug will bind to your anionic site and to your esteratic site, but the binding can be reversible. It will be very slowly reversible. So it will take a long time for that cholinesterase enzyme to work again. Okay? As long as it is not working for that period of time, acetylcholine levels will be high because no molecule of acetylcholine can be broken down. One enzyme, let's suppose one enzyme was breaking down 5 molecules of acetylcholine per minute, meaning one molecule of enzyme was breaking 5 molecules of acetylcholine into uh, 10 molecules, that is 5 molecules of choline and 5 molecules of acetic acid, meaning in 1 minute you had what 6300 molecules of acetylcholine being inhibited or being broken down. यहाँ पर let's suppose it is working for 2 hours, it means that it is saving almost 600 molecules of acetylcholine from being broken down. Okay, I hope you are following along. If you're not, please stop me at any time. Okay, if you want me to repeat as well, either way, I'll just repeat in case someone did not understand. The top image that you see here with the red dots, that represents acetylcholine itself, the main particular neurotransmitter that is present in your body. And the green block that you can see, that represents cholinesterase enzyme. Cholinesterase is an enzyme that will attach with, or it will bind with acetylcholine. See here, the first step, binding with CHE. Acetylcholine is binding with cholinesterase and it is breaking down, which is a very fast reaction. Splitting of substrate and regeneration of free cholinesterase, wherein you will get choline and you will get acetic acid, and you get the enzyme back so that it can react with another acetylcholine molecule. Now, if I want to increase the amount of acetylcholine in my body, what I will do is I will block this enzyme. One way is by reversibly inhibiting that enzyme using this drug called neostigmine. That neostigmine is represented by the key-like structure here, the yellowish structure, okay, mustard colored structure. This fellow will bind to the anionic site and the esteratic site of that enzyme, and it will vertical slowly get broken down, in the sense that for as long as that drug is attached to the enzyme will not work. Okay, for as long as that enzyme is not working, you will not have any acetylcholine molecules being broken down. That is reversible binding. Irreversible binding, specifically by an irreversible inhibitor like ecothiophyte, you have others as well. This ecothiophyte is an organophosphate. This fellow, as you can see, will only bind to esteratic site, and it will get unbound very slowly. In the sense, sometimes it will take a few days, or sometimes it will not break down altogether. It will stay attached as such. Okay, because of that, the enzyme will not be able to break down acetylcholine for a long period of time, sometimes forever. That enzyme will be completely lost. Those are irreversible inhibitors. Okay, I hope you understood the difference now. ये समझ में आया what is happening?
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know who is talking. Yeah, Jik, bolo.
sir, can you please second type irreversible?
Irreversible को फिर से repeat करना. एक second. Irreversible में क्या है? Reversible में the drug neostigmine, that key is the drug, right? That is slowly coming out, meaning after a few hours. Generally, it will take a few hours, meaning for that period of time, acetylcholine will not break down. It also means that for that period of time, let's suppose यहाँ पर slow represents 5 hours. ठीक है? For those 5 hours, your acetylcholine levels will be high, meaning that that cholinesterase enzyme will not work for 5 hours. Irreversible में क्या होता? That fellow, the drug, irreversible inhibitor, here we are taking ecothiophyte as an example, which is a organophosphate. That fellow will bind to the esteratic site, only to the esteratic site, and it will take a very long time for that attachment to break down. Sometimes it will never break down. It will be irreversibly bound to an extent that it will not come out altogether. Okay, so here very slow represents a few days. Okay, sometimes it will not come out altogether. That enzyme is completely lost. Because of this, what will happen is there is an adverse effect that can happen called organophosphate poisoning. I'll come to that in a bit. बट irreversible में ये डिफरेंस है कि irreversible will either take a few days. See, यहाँ पर reversible is happening within a few hours. It is breaking down. Irreversible, if it gets detached, if it comes out, it will happen within a few days, meaning for a few days you will have high amounts of acetylcholine, or it will never come out, meaning that enzyme is completely lost. You cannot use that enzyme altogether again. समझ में आया अजय?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Now, coming to organophosphate poisoning. See, this is fine and all. क्या बोलते? Using irreversible binding and reversible binding and all of them is fine. Organophosphates are generally found in your this thing. क्या बोलते? Insecticides and all. The problem is that, see, both of these drugs, reversible render, irreversible render, they are increasing the amount of acetylcholine in your body. This is fine if someone has low amounts of acetylcholine. But if there is something called organophosphate poisoning, meaning organophosphate drug का concentration इतना high हो गया, the concentration of organophosphate is so high that it is leading to toxicity and poisoning, that is called OP poisoning. ठीक है? OP poisoning बोलते हैं. OP poisoning में instead of you having normal levels of acetylcholine, you will have extremely high levels of acetylcholine, which itself is bad. ठीक है? Because of extremely high levels of acetylcholine, the patient might die. ठीक है? You will have excessive effects of acetylcholine. All your muscarinic effects and all your nicotinic effects will dial to 10. So everything will be in excess. यहाँ पर we were trying to give in a condition where acetylcholine levels was low to bring it back to normal. So let's suppose I represent it as a graph. Let's suppose this represents acetylcholine concentration. Yeah, Kirtana, do you have a doubt? Raise your hand. Okay. So let's suppose this represents acetylcholine concentration and this represents, let's say, time. Okay. So once you give the drug, initially the concentration will be zero. So you will have almost zero concentration. At one point of time, slowly it will increase. Now, here we were in a condition where, let's suppose this is normal. Okay. This much amount of acetylcholine level should be normal. Our patient is at this level. Okay. The patient's acetylcholine level is here. So your what you call goal was to bring this fellow from here to here. Okay. So your goal was to do this. One second, I'll represent it this way. यहाँ तक था, and your goal was to bring your patient from here to here. Okay, till the line of that red. So let's put a small range. Even this much is normal. That red part, this much is normal. Meaning from here to, even if it is going up to here, it is normal. What organophosphate poisoning causes is, whenever you are giving organophosphates and they are causing toxicity, excessive dose has been given, or they are not being excreted properly, or they are not being metabolized, or they are staying in your body for a long period of time, in all of those conditions, what will happen is acetylcholine concentration will go beyond normal. This is a condition where OP poisoning will occur. Okay? Where you are having excessive stimulation from your acetylcholine. There is excessive amount of acetylcholine present in the body, and you will have a lot of excessive amounts of muscarinic and nicotinic effects. Okay? The chances of OP poisoning occurring are pretty high, especially because organophosphates are very lipophilic. They are easily lipid soluble. Okay, so you can let's suppose someone is using a insecticide. Insecticides generally contain organophosphates. Someone can absorb organophosphates from their skin as well, even if insecticide, let's suppose, falls a little bit on their skin, and small dosages are also very potent. So even if a little amount of organophosphate comes in contact with the skin and gets absorbed inside because it is lipophilic, it will get absorbed inside very easily. That can cause poisoning. Okay. In such a condition, what you have to do is, if the patient has been poisoned, remove their clothing, because their clothing might have what they call absorbed a little bit of organophosphate. Remove their clothing, wash their skin with soap and water, and if they have what you call consumed organophosphate orally, let's suppose intentionally or unintentionally they have consumed insecticide, in those conditions you have to immediately perform gastric lavage. Gastric lavage is a process in which you literally put a tube down the person's gut, and you will suck out that poison. Okay, you will put a few chemicals and you'll suck the whole poison out. ये नहीं कि गैस्ट्रिक लवाज आप लोगों को नहीं है. आप लोगों को कभी हॉस्पिटल में दिखाया हाउ गैस्ट्रिक लवाज इज डन? Have you ever seen or been taught what is gastric lavage? Generally poisoning के रम में आता ही है. How to deal with poisons and how to poisoning में कैसा treat करते? No? Okay. That is a discussion for another day anyway. ठीक है, gastric lavage नहीं मालूम है तो कोई बात नहीं है. What we'll do is essentially put a pipe down your throat and you will suck the poison out. ठीक है, that can be performed if the drug is taken orally. If the drug is exposed to the skin and it enters systemic circulation, wash, and you have to give cholinergic drugs. You have to give anticholinergic drugs. Sorry, specifically atropine. यहाँ पर ओपी पॉइजनिंग की वजह से क्या हो रहा है, acetyl choline levels have increased way more than normal. So you give one class of drug called anticholinergics. The primary anticholinergic that you will use is atropine. Okay, we'll come across anticholinergics as well in the next class, but atropine can be used. Generally 2 mg every 10 minutes. What happens is meiosis occurs whenever there is extreme amounts of acetylcholine present in the patient. You'll be able to see extreme pupil constriction. Pinpoint pupil bolte usko. Pupil become very very small. Okay. Uh, so what you do is, when you are giving atropine, you look for the sign of pupil dilation. That is when you know the poison has been dealt with. So you'll keep on giving 2 mg of atropine till you see dilation of pupil. Almost every 10 minutes you keep giving the drug IV. Okay, but maximum dose that can be given is around 50 to 100 mg, depending on the severity of the poisoning. Don't give more than that. Okay, it is already a emergency condition. And other than that, you have to make sure that the patient is in prone position, in the sense that they are lying down by their stomach. Okay, they are flat on their stomach. That is prone position. Yeah, I hope you know what is prone position, because what happens is, in OP poisoning, the patient will lose how do I put it, because of excessive secretion. What will happen is the patient might aspirate, and they will lose functions, or they will lose control of their muscles, and they will not be able to move properly. They literally have something called flaccid paralysis. Okay, in that condition the patient will not be able to move, and because excessive acetylcholine is present, gastric secretions will increase. If those gastric secretions are reaching your lungs and your respiratory tract, they can cause aspiration, especially aspiration pneumonia. So in that condition, what you have to do is, you have to turn the patient over into prone position, face down. Okay, and maintain BP and airway till the patient has stabilized. Okay, so till as you keep on giving atropine till their pupils have dilated back and they have become stable, maintain their BP and their passageways. Okay, because broncho secretions will also increase and the patient's BP will plummet whenever acetylcholine is very high in their body. Okay, I'll continue a little bit more about anticholinesterases and cholinergics in the next class. We have a little bit more time left, that's all.